Hi guys, I've taken time to start doing adaptation to the Honda CB500X because I wanted to live with it for a while to see what I really wanted to do to it. Really just to get to know the bike. I feel comfortable now with about 3,500 miles on it to now start building it into the world travel bike that I think it's very capable of being. And that's not to say that I'm going to throw money at it unnecessarily. I don't like spending money really. I'm a bit mean, but now I've spent time on the bike, now I've lived with it, now I've been camping with it, done a little bit of travelling in the UK with it. I've now got a clearer idea as to what I'm going to do to the bike to make it into that world travel bike. I'll go over those ideas in a different video because at least I can express then why, the reasons why and what for. But for now, I can't contain my excitement with the parcel you can see here. This arrived yesterday morning, but I was out riding and by the time I got back I had some other stuff to do, household stuff. So I had to contain the excitement and I haven't even opened it yet, so I hope it's the right parts and I hope it's what I'm thinking. Well, it is because I can see on the label. So let me just get the thing open. What we have is the Rally Raid, I think it's called a soft pannier rack, and it's actually that way up, isn't it? So first impressions is that's one solid bit of engineering. Doesn't feel overly heavy, to be honest. What I'll do is, because you replace the grab rails, so what I'll do is I'll weigh the grab rails, see what the difference is, but obviously the bike will take the weight, and so you get two of those, and then you get a couple of brackets, which was in that pack, a couple of brackets to actually then attach it, I think, to the foot peg, or the behind the foot peg, and these two prongs here just are a direct replacement where the grab rails bolt on. I've had a look at the fitting instructions, which is online, and it looks fairly straightforward, and the finish is good. It has those fixings, I forget what you call them now, but you can fit those fuel or water bottles on here with the fixings. I think it's these here actually, but yeah, I'm very, very pleased with that. So that's what I'm going to be fitting to the Honda CB500X. Rally Raid soft pannier racks. So that's everything unwrapped now, and you've got the two racks, left and right. You've got the two brackets, which they fit to the foot peg bracket. Obviously bolts to go with it, and obviously that's just a list of what the contents are of the package. The instructions are online and they do look dead simple, but just to give you a little bit of a close-up of what they look like, because what I found when I was researching this and looking for racks, it wasn't that easy to see close-up view of the kit or even fitted. So that's it. Just so that you get a sort of good view of what it looks like close up. That's the side obviously, and how it sits on the top. It looks, well, it is a substantial bit of kit this, and looks really good quality, and to be honest I think if the bike to fall over like a soft fall, these would go some way toward protecting the bike in a fall. I guess that should be tested with a deliberate put down on the grass, but I'm probably not going to do that. Too scared. Okay, we'll see when they're fitted what they look like then. So having looked through the instructions, this is what we need to take off the grab rails and install the roller raid racks. So got a couple of wrenches there, 5mm and 8mm Allen key, 12mm and 13mm socket, and some lock thread for all the new application going in. So that's your lot. So it's quite simple in terms of tools. I've also laid out the one of the side racks with the actual bolts that go with it. So there are 2 bolts that go into that position there, which is the rear. Smaller bolt goes into the front position. So if you imagine your grab rail. And then this bracket is the one that goes behind the footrest, so uses the original bolts, and then it attaches to the main rack with these 2 bolts there. So basically that's what you need for fitting, and shortly I'm going to start taking the grab rails off, and then we'll just see how we go from there. Okay, so I'm going to take these grab rails off now. To be honest, I'm going to take my time because I'll keep going back to the instructions, so we'll just start with the getting these grab rails off and take it from there. Okay, so we're going to fit the right hand rack, the original 2 fixings at the rear, and slotting through there to the original fixing at the front. It's using the bolts supplied, not the original. And what we'll do first is just get some Loctite on these. Alright, so that's some Loctite on them. I mean, I assume everybody knows about Loctite, but the whole idea is that it just gets a grip and Saves them from shaking loose. It's like anything though, you really need to keep a check on everything on the bike, bolt-wise. So, we've got the right-hand rack. That's going to thread through there, and this is going to sit on the top. So I think first things first, put that through, there we are. So I've offered up the rear and then pushed the front through. It's quite simple. Now you loosely bolt the rear into place. Just enough to hold it without tightening it. I think I'll just leave it at that for a second, and that just gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. And then for the front fixing, we have a bolt and washer and a spacer. So the spacer actually goes underneath the rally raid bracket, so between the rally raid bracket and the actual bike. But again, I'll get some Loctite on that. So what we're going to do here is just ease that up a little bit, and that now sits between rally raid bracket and bike, and then we're just going to feel our way in getting that bolt in. Just want to be careful you don't you cross thread, because you might feel there's resistance. And again, I hate to talk about this to people that know what they're doing, but there might be some people out there that, you know, not used to it, but you don't need to pay anybody to put these on. This is very simple. So if you're feeling a bit of resistance when you're first putting that little bolt in, just give it a wiggle about a little bit, and you'll find that it'll go in a lot easier. And once it's on the thread, suddenly it'll become a lot easier to tighten down. So I'm just hand tightening, I'm not doing any more than that. Just keeping it just a touch, as you can see, just a touch loose. But for all intents and purposes, that bit is fitted, other than the final actual tighten up. One thing I do have to mention is that, having shown you what tools you need, I omitted and forgot to mention you need a 10mm socket. So in addition to what I've shown you, you need a 10mm socket, which is for this bolt at the front. So now we're going to take these two bolts from the rear footrest bracket, take these bolts out so that we can offer up the bracket that goes from there to this point here. So we'll just get that loosened off. It's actually, it does have a bolt for the exhaust. I don't think you need to take that one off, but we'll have to see when we get there. I think you just take these out and then you can slide the bracket behind. The instructions don't give you any torque settings for the actual rack, but there'll probably be some torque settings in the manual for the grab rail, and certainly for these. So albeit we'll get them all tightened up and fitted, I'll then just double check the torques, see what we need to do for that. Okay, so that's one bolt out. And second bolt out. Yeah, so what I can see now, although there is a fixing there, what I can actually see is that there's plenty of room to put the bracket in without taking this one off, which is good. And I'll just get the bracket now and we'll do that. So we're just going to put the lock thread on again on the original bolts for the footrests. And then just look to get these fitted. So the bracket goes on with this part behind the main rail. That offers up so that the bracket is between the bike and the footrest, and then it's just a case of lining up the threads. I'm a bit cack-handed here. I'm going to have to move position. So basically just hand tightening these up, keep them relatively loose so the thing will still move. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that, but you get the idea by the time this bracket's on, that we then start to bolt through here from the support to the rail. Okay, so that one's now screwed in. It was a bit of an effort, that, and actually on the other side, this rear bolt, which is a captive bolt, is quite corroded, and I'm struggling to get that side in just on the rear one. I think I'm going to, rather than pursue that, I'm going to get a slightly longer bolt. So for now I'll finish it off and then get another bolt, I think, for that one, because when I look inside, it is quite corroded actually. The others have been okay, but the rear left inside was really corroded. Anyway, so that's something I'll have to fix another day. It'll have to be when I can go get a bolt. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish this side off. Those two are now in but not tightened up. This is still loose and is going to fix to the actual rack there, like that. Yep, just like that. And we're going to do that with these bolts on the outside. So we'll just thread them through. Like that. You then got these to go on the inside of the fixing. That's it. Now basically we've got the whole thing lined up, and then it's going to be a case of just tightening everything off, and when it's tightened in an appropriate manner. I guess it will just go through. I'll check the instructions, but I think it'll just be gently going through each bolt, tighten it up. Okay guys, so the other side is now done. It's that's nice and secure now. Happy with that. This side, I've tightened these two bolts up, and actually with a little bit of trial and error, I found that nipping those two bolts up here, that's at the rear of the bracket, just nipping them up and then tightening the smaller one, which is, if you can see it, that one there, which is at the front of the bracket. Tighten them up, tighten that up, further tighten that one, tighten that one, and that's now secure, so I'm happy with that. All we've got now is the main rack to bolt to the bracket that goes to the footrest. So what I've done is I've just nipped up the footrest. This one here, whilst the bolt is perfectly alright, the inner threads are quite rusty actually. A little bit surprised at that, but just one of those things. So what's happening is that bolt isn't going in deep enough to capture. So I can't do anything about it now because it's a Saturday. So on Monday, I've got a local place that I think it's called Nuts and Bolts, which is very apt, and they will find me a replacement that's longer. So that's just going to have to wait till Monday. But in all truthfulness, because nobody goes on the back of my bike, even though that's only got the one fixing, all of this will be completely secured once I tighten these two bolts up. So I'm happy to ride that. I'll just keep an eye on it, but I'm happy to ride that until I can sort the bolt out. And when it comes to sorting the bolt out, I won't have to loosen all this off. I'll literally just have to loosen that one bolt there and then just jiggle about to the point I can actually get, well actually it's lined up already. So that's the plan. Nothing to do with Rally Raid that, it's just a slight problem with the captive bolt that's inside there. So I'll just show you on this side there what I'm doing to actually tighten these two up. It's all dead straightforward, but what I found with this is that you just want to get this bracket lined up with the rack, because you could have it down here where it's a bit of a skew whiff. So it's just a case of when you're tightening it, you got this on the back, that would help if you have the right socket. We have the right socket. That's a 13. So basically just get the one on the rear in position to hold, and that's pretty lined up as it is, but I'll just keep an eye on it as I start to tighten, just to make sure that it is lined when it's tightened up. On the other side I just had to sort of hold it in place just so it was nice and flush. So you can see that's looking flush. I'm happy with that. I'll just keep an eye on it, and now we'll just get into to tightening. So I've just nipped that one up, I'll just nip this one up. So they're both nipped up. I can see that that's flush. That's one area, if you don't keep an eye on it, could just get a bit skew with, but with this side it's just gone naturally into place. And then just gradually tighten both up until it's solid. Okay, so now that we're getting to a point of it being tight enough, I'm just going to give it that little bit, sort of half a turn. Well, that was a quarter of a turn. Yeah. Just the point it feels right. Right, and that for now feels right. That's really, I'm happy with that. What I'll do is I'll ride it and then I'll check it again. Probably do that 2 or 3 times until I'm absolutely convinced it's rock solid, but it feels rock solid now. So the only thing missing is that bolt. I'll deal with that on Monday when I can. So I'm just going to give you a final look at the various fixing points, and in as close detail as I can before I put the seat on. But for all intents and purposes, that's now complete. So you can clearly see the 2 bolts at the rear. They're replacement bolts for the original handrail. Grab rail is the word. And these smaller bolts are for the front fixing of that grab rail. They're new bolts either side. There and there. The rack itself, the side rack itself, is one piece, as you know and as you've seen. But you have a bracket that goes behind the rear footrests, which is this bracket, and that bracket comes behind the. Sorry about that. That bracket becomes behind the pannier, the actual main rack. So the little bracket here goes behind, and then these 2 bolts go through to tighten that together. So that's giving you a fixing point there and 3 fixing points effectively on the top. So just to give you, if you can see, a close up. And just a view from this side. Okay, so next thing is I'll just put the seat on and we'll have a look what it looks like. Okay, with the seat reinstalled, that's your view from the side. I think they look really neat, not over big, and I'm not going to put panniers on. I'm just simply going to have bags on and a horseshoe one when it eventually arrives, but it will give me the ability to actually attach things to it if I wanted to, and also get my infamous tool tubes back into position, probably behind here and behind here. So I think that's going to be the tool tubes in there. Now, one thing when I was looking at these online and with other people's pictures, I was a bit concerned about how wide that gap was at the back. Not concerned, but it just didn't feel right. But to be honest with you, when you see it with your own eyes, it doesn't look quite as gappy. It doesn't look as bad as looking at it from a distance or through a camera lens. And I think with the tool tubes in, that'll bridge that gap anyway. But the good thing about this is, if that bike is to go over with a soft fall, it is to a degree going to protect the bike. You can get a rack for the back as well, which fits into these two holes and then effectively comes round, I think, to about here. I've chosen not to go for that. I think I'm going to have enough luggage capacity with the dry bags that I've got and the tool tubes, but it does give an option at some later stage of popping that on if I want to. It's literally just going to bolt to those holes that I've pointed out. So just so that you can see what it looks like, I'll just do a bit of film around it. At least if you're trying to make your mind up like I was, you're hopefully going to have some better pictures to work on. So that's your Rally Raid soft pannier rack fitted, apart from the one bolt. All in all, really nice quality, really solid. Obviously when I've rode the bike I'll be able to see how it performs once it's been ridden, but I really am pleased with that.